I'm attorney Howard Ankin for another episode of Chicagoans You Should Know. As an attorney, I get to do a lot of cool things, and tonight is possibly one of the coolest things that I'll get to do, and getting a chance to talk to longtime weatherman Tom Skilling of WGN.
Well, Howard, I'm going to tell you something. I've watched you over the years, and I thought, I'd like to meet this man. So it's an honor to have you in here in our weather office. Thank you. And by the way, you also sponsor our 7-day forecast, so thank you for that. I keep telling people we wouldn't be doing what we do were it not for people like you who back us in doing that. So thank you for that very much.
Tom, the honor's all mine. We're really here to ask some questions about who is Tom Skilling, and we get to kind of pull the curtain back a little and get to understand you.
Yeah.
Just sitting where we're sitting right now, I never really understood that this is like where some of the weather is shown. Tell us where we are right now.
Well, we're right in the newsroom. Do you know when I started here in 1978, this was the combined WGN radio and TV newsroom. And we had carpeting that was so stained. There was a story about every stain on the carpeting. Well, they later built the newsroom where it is now, and that freed up this space, so they turned it into a weather office. And in the back of this studio, we used to, when we had CLTV on the air, they did CLTV weather over there. But what we do here is at the top of the show, or when there's a tornado warning, we come out of here, right out of the weather office, where we have access to all of our data feeds and all the rest. And then I go across the hall into the TV studio, where we work with the chroma key, the green screen that you stand in front of, and we program the computer back here, and I set up the order in which the graphics will show up. And I start at 8 in the morning pulling down all the model guidance and all. It's just amazing the array of data we look at and have available these days in meteorology. In fact, I've been doing this for about a half a century, and what's happened in this science in the last 50 years is just stunning. It was Aristotle, 340 BC, who wrote the first treatise on meteorology that started it as a science. But in the last 50 years, we've probably come farther than we had in all the time from Aristotle up to the present time. We have satellites now, Doppler radar, incredible computing capability. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin. That's the birthplace of satellite meteorology.
Did you know when you were going to college that you were going to try to be on air, or that's something that came? What point did that happen for you?
Do you know something? I've been interested in the weather my whole life, and my parents couldn't quite figure out what they'd done wrong. Because there's nobody in our family who has any working knowledge or works in the meteorological profession. I don't know where this came from, but it's been part of my life. I used to have paper routes, and I'd save the money and buy, dream of buying weather equipment. I even wanted to buy a bedroom radar set. And I was so stupid that I thought maybe there was a fighting chance that I might be able to do that. But my parents would have preferred me to do what you're doing or be a doctor or something like that. And they came to realize I was serious about this. And do you know something? I'm approaching 72 years old. I'll be 72 in February. And I'm more interested in the weather today than I was when I was a kid. You know what I do? I get up, I'm in my bathrobe in my little weather den at home. I live on the north side of Chicago. I've been in that building for 45 years. I'm right on the lake, and what a place to watch Chicago's weather in the lake state and all. And I start pulling, let me see, Howard. I've got stuff here. This is what I pull down. I work on this all morning long. See these?
Show them over here.
Yeah. All these numbers, these are all different computer models, and they're predictions. There are 32 of them I pull down. Then I average across them, and I take this average and I look at how they've performed in the past, what the error rate is.
And you do this every day?
Every day. And
for 45 years.
Yeah. and then we also sort through viewer pictures.
All these you do every single day?
Every day, yeah. It's just do climate research. I've always thought if you can put the weather in a perspective that people can understand, like when it's hot, when you don't just say it's hot, you tell them, hey, we've only done this 3 times before in our entire weather history. That has an impact on people. They realize it puts in perspective how unusual the weather they're getting is. And I've always felt climatology and comparisons like that are relevant to people who have to live through the weather. We all do.
Over the years, how many times were you offered to be like, come here we want you here instead of WGN.
Do you know what's interesting, Howard? I remember Coleman telling me, he said, keep your nose clean, do your job. And he said, with all these news consulting firms, he said, if you make an impression in a market, you're going to have competitors who want to get you out of the market, so they'll get their news consultants to offer you a job in one of their other markets. So every job I've gotten has always been a job offer from somebody. I've never had to go out looking for a job. And Coleman was right on that when he said that. But I've been so happy here. I've been, my competitors look at me with knives in their eyes when we get, how do you get all that time on the air? And I said, well, they made a mistake. They let me on long enough to develop a following, and now they don't know what to do with me, so they just let me ramble on, But the time is invaluable. I'm able to do things that people with shorter allocations of time can't do. And I think it's contributed to our leadership in the weather arena. And now you've got stations doing Storm Watch 5 and First Alert this and First Alert that. They're building newscasts around weather because there is a jump you see when there's a big weather event going on, and people have their favorite stations they go to. And we've been knock on balding wood, the place that a destination place when there's breaking weather, that people come here.
It's very interesting that you say that the powers that be here built the station around
Yes.
the talent that they had, and they let them be
Go.
who they are. Yeah, that's really great.
It really is. And thank you. As an advertiser, you make this possible. Howard, and I look at your involvement in the community. I mean, you're the same way. This is very unique. You go above and beyond the call of duty, and everything you do. You work with our teacher recognition program. You sponsor our weather program. It's something. I think Chicagoans gravitate toward organizations like that.
I'm just sitting here listening to you, by the way, and you explain my life to me listening to you, because when you're passionate about life,
absolutely,
you're just passionate about it, and you do things, and the world kind of works around you because you're passionate about your life.
That's why I wanted to meet you.
Yeah.
I watch you, and this comes across, and people at a very human level.
I really appreciate it coming from you, by the way, Tom.
No, it really is true.
Thank you very much.
I'm not feeding you a line. I've often thought, here's a guy who clearly likes what he's doing, loves what he's doing, loves the community in which he's doing it. And there's something to be said for that, and I think people gravitate toward that, and they want to know what makes us tick. I'm not sure we understand it all the time, but I think our intentions are good, and so it's interesting. You ask interesting questions.
So I'm sure this is not going to be the last, stop on the train ride.
No.
What do you think you're going to do now? What's the next step?
Well, I've got all kinds of ideas, and it's funny, I kind of feel, I don't know. I'm going in, this is uncharted territory. And for a long time, before I made the decision, it scared me. And it still does. Because I've worked since I was a teenager, and I've had a regular paycheck coming in, and I knew what I was going to do every day, and there are great variables. But I'll tell you a couple of things I'm looking at. I'd love to start speaking on climate. I've done that for years with our congressional reps and all. I think that would be interesting. I'm going to sit down with our station here. I'd love to be involved in projects here at WGN. There are stories I'd love to do that I'm not able to do doing a nightly weather show. And we did a series on climate change, which I just love doing. And there was so much more we could have done on that subject.
If somebody came to you and said they need a lawyer, what would you tell them?
I would tell them you, my friend. I'll tell you something. You know what I like? I think I can talk to you, and I've sensed that just in your commercials and all. And I think when you talk to an attorney, and we all need attorneys, you want somebody you can talk with, who seems like a real human being and that you can be frank with and talk with. And Howard, you strike me that way. So I'll tell you something. I honestly, I'm not giving you a line there either.
Thanks, Tom.
That's all right.
Thank you.
This has been such fun. I hope this has been all right. I've been rambling here, but.
No ramble. This has been great.
It's great. I've had a lot of fun, and how nice of you to come over here on our schedule and do this. I know how busy your days are. Thank you.